Right now, in one of the most idyllic mountain towns on Earth, it takes 7.5 full-time incomes just to buy a standard non-resort house.
I mean, yeah, it is a staggering statistic to wrap your head around.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You know, usually when we think about a world-famous mountain town, there is this expectation of tranquility, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You look at the glossy travel brochures for the Vail Valley here in Colorado, and it's just pristine peaks, quiet forests, a perfect little village. It looks completely static.
Right. We like to imagine these places as these, ultimate retreats from the chaos of the real world, a place where the environment has been sort of tamed for our enjoyment.
But then you look at the raw data coming out of Eagle County, specifically today, Monday, June 8th, 2026. And, well, that illusion just shatters.
Yeah, it really does.
We are looking at a regional dynamic that is operating on an absolute razor's edge. So today, we are unpacking the intense reality of living and, quite frankly, surviving in the Vail Valley.
And we've pulled together a really fascinating stack of sources for you today.
We really have. We're looking at urgent National Weather Service alerts, real-time infrastructure reports from the Colorado Department of Transportation, or CDOT as it's known locally.
Right.
Plus, we've got athletic results from the GoPro Mountain Games and the incredibly detailed 2025 Eagle County Regional Housing Needs Assessment.
And, we should probably mention where some of this really granular data is coming from today.
Oh, yeah, we definitely should. So a lot of our local feed aggregation today actually comes from vailychat.web.app.
Which is such a cool tool.
It is. It's an AI news automation engine, and it's running on Gemini and Firebase. And get this, they even just launched a vailychat token on pump.fun.
Which is just a wild example of how local information economies are evolving, right? Like a local news AI getting its own crypto token.
Totally wild. But, the data it pulled for us paints a very clear, very stark picture. Because right now, the valley is experiencing, well, extreme on all fronts.
Extreme weather, extreme sports.
Exactly. And a mathematically unscalable housing deficit. Our mission today is to synthesize all these seemingly disconnected updates.
Because none of these extremes exist in a vacuum, you
Right.
know. The rugged environment dictates the infrastructure, and then the infrastructure impacts the economy. The economy shapes the recreation, and, well, all of it crashes headfirst into the housing market.
I want to start with the physical environment because today the elements are entirely dictating the rhythm of the valley. The National Weather Service has issued a severe red flag warning.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's in effect for today, June 8th, from 10 a.m. straight through to 10 p.m. And this covers fire weather zones 203 and 205, which is essentially everything below 8,000 feet.
We really need to explore what a red flag warning actually means on a physical level, because it's not just a polite suggestion to be careful.
No, not at all.
The conditions right now are terrifyingly volatile. I mean, you have relative humidity sitting between 7% and 12%.
Which honestly feels completely abstract until you actually step outside.
Exactly. When humidity drops that low, the air acts like a giant sponge.
Wow.
It actively sucks the moisture out of everything it touches, the pine needles, the dead timber, the soil itself. It turns the entire forest canopy into a literal powder keg.
And then you combine that with the wind, right?
Right. You have southwest winds whipping at 20 to 30 miles per hour and gusts hitting up to 50 miles per hour. And topography plays a massive role here, too.
Oh, because of the valleys.
Yeah, canyons act like wind tunnels, accelerating those gusts. If a single spark catches today, the fire will spread so erratically that it can jump highways in minutes.
And the local sheriff's office is like begging people to use extra caution. They aren't officially in stage 1 fire restrictions yet, which for those who don't know is the legal trigger that formally bans things like open campfires or outdoor smoking.
Right.
But they're urging people to act like they are. I mean, they literally just had fire crews put out 3 separate blazes inside Glenwood Canyon a few days ago.
It is a constant looming threat. And right in the middle of this tinderbox, you have the region actively battling its own rugged geography just to keep people moving.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Interstate 70, specifically on West Vail Pass.
Oh, yeah. Between milepoints 180 and 190.
Exactly. If you were driving that stretch today, the traffic situation is just intense. CDOT has forced all vehicles into a tight, head-to-head, barrier-separated configuration in the eastbound lanes.
And this is to facilitate the final phase of the West Vail Pass Auxiliary Lane and Wildlife Underpass project,
Okay.
which again highlights the friction of living in this environment. You have a high-speed interstate slicing directly through crucial elk and deer migration routes.
It's crazy.
And the underpass is this engineering marvel designed to stop catastrophic collisions between wildlife and vehicles.
But to build it, I mean, they're racing the calendar before winter sets in, so
Yeah.
they're doing active rock scaling operations during the week.
Yeah, which is intense.
That means they are intentionally creating 20-minute traffic holes in both directions.
Just think about the logistics of that for a second. Building at 8,000 feet is not like laying asphalt in a suburb.
Right, right.
You have freeze-thaw cycles that shatter concrete, and you are working on the side of a sheer drop.
It's like trying to perform open heart surgery while the patient is running a marathon, you know.
That is a perfect analogy.
CDOT is trying to rebuild a major high-altitude interstate, blasting and scaling rock faces, all while managing intense winds and explosive fire risk. It's less like road construction and more like playing a giant, high-stakes game of Jenga on a vertical cliff.
Yeah, the crews have men on ropes with heavy iron bars, literally prying loose boulders off the mountain face.
Wow.
And they have to pause all the minivans and semi-trucks below them before they pull a piece loose because gravity is entirely unforgiving.
Put yourself in the shoes of a commuter sitting in your car for 20 minutes, watching dust plume off the cliff above you, knowing this is just what it takes to get to work.
You are never not at the mercy of the mountain. It requires a highly resilient infrastructure and constant vigilance from everyone living there.
But it's a paradox, isn't it? Because it takes heavy machinery and explosives to carve a safe path through that rock for commuters, yet that exact same unforgiving vertical terrain is what draws human beings to try and conquer it for fun.
The hazard is the attraction.
Exactly.
Mm.
The 24th annual GoPro Mountain Games just wrapped up in Vail, and the athletic feats are staggering.
Truly staggering.
In the road bike hill climb, Eric Brunner essentially conquered the very same Vail Pass we were just talking about.
Yeah.
He crushed a 9.7-mile, 1,600-foot climb in just over 26 minutes and 15 seconds.
To put that in perspective, at 8,000 feet of elevation, there is significantly less oxygen available per breath compared to sea level.
I can barely walk up a flight of stairs at that altitude.
Right. Pushing a bicycle up a 1,600-foot vertical climb in 26 minutes requires an astonishing physiological output. Your heart and lungs are working at absolute maximum capacity just to keep you from passing out, let alone sprinting.
You could almost bike up the pass faster than you can drive it during one of those CDOT rock scaling holds.
Seriously?
And it wasn't just on the pavement. The dirt events were wild, too. We saw these incredible 2-for-2 sweeps in the cross-country events.
Yeah, Tian Males.
Yes. Deanne Males made her debut in the short track mountain bike race and took the crown. And then the very next day, both she and the men's champion, Ivan Sippy, won their longer cross-country races, cementing dual titles for the weekend.
It is a phenomenal showcase of endurance.
But here is a detail from the sources I have to ask you about. Deanna Males is a 32-year-old engineer for the bike component manufacturer SRAM.
Right.
Wait, does designing the bike parts give her a secret mechanical edge in riding them? Or is this just an incredible case of a late-blooming athlete who happens to know her gear inside and out?
It's a really fascinating crossover. You could argue that knowing the exact shear strength of a carbon fiber frame or, the precise tension limits of a derailleur tells you exactly how hard you can push your equipment into a corner without it failing.
Oh, that makes sense.
But realistically, the true edge isn't in the metal. It's cognitive.
How so?
Well, the discipline required to sit in an engineering lab and optimize a mechanical system by fractions of a millimeter is the exact same analytical discipline required to optimize a race pace over roots and rocks.
That is so interesting.
You are constantly assessing variables, managing energy, and finding the most efficient line. The mountain is just a different kind of laboratory for them.
So the brain that solves the engineering problem solves the racecourse problem.
Exactly. And it really highlights the unique culture of these mountain towns. It is a magnet for people who fuse intense, high-level professional skills with elite athleticism.
I don't separate the two.
No, the people who thrive here don't compartmentalize their lives. Their commute, their gym, and their professional proving ground are all the exact same mountain pass.
Which is incredible. But, we are watching these athletes conquer massive physical climbs.
Yeah.
But The local workforce, the people who actually pour the concrete for those wildlife underpasses.
Yeah.
The crews fighting the fires in Glenwood Canyon, the staff organizing the mountain games. They are facing a climb that is mathematically unscalable.
Ah, you're pivoting to the housing market.
Steepest climb of all. The 2025 Eagle County Regional Housing Needs Assessment is in our stack of sources, and the data paints a very alarming picture of a community in trouble.
It really does.
The county has quantified the crisis. The total net housing deficit over the next 10 years is 5,038 units.
And we should probably break down how they arrived at that number. Because reading through a municipal housing assessment can sometimes feel like staring at a wall of spreadsheets.
Please do. I mean, where does the 5,038 even come from?
So the report looked at the raw total need, what they call the gross need, and they found they need over 6,300 homes.
6,375 to be exact.
Right. You have about 2,600 units needed right this second just to fix the current pain points in the community.
Just to get back to zero, basically.
Exactly. Then you add another 3,700 units to prepare for the next 10 years of projected job growth and local workers aging into retirement.
Okay, so that's the big, scary gross number, over 6,300. But they're building some things, right?
They are. They look at what is actually moving through the development pipeline, which is about 1,300 units.
Okay.
Some of those are physically seeing dirt moved right now, under construction, and the rest are what's called entitled, meaning they've cleared all the legal and zoning hurdles and have permission to be built.
So when you subtract that 1,300 unit pipeline from the 6,300 gross need.
You are left staring at a 5,038 unit crater.
Wait, I have to push back here. If the demand is that intense and there is clearly money to be made, why isn't the free market just stepping in to build more apartment complexes like it would in the suburbs of a major city?
Because it's a geographic cage match.
A cage match.
Yeah, you are dealing with steep valley walls where you physically cannot build high-rises. You are surrounded by federal land and national forests, meaning the buildable footprint is permanently locked.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about the federal land aspect.
On top of that, the cost of hauling construction materials and labor up to 8,000 feet is astronomical.
And I imagine zoning laws and the short-term rental market play a huge role, too.
A massive role. When existing homes are bought up to be used as mini hotels for tourists, it removes them from the local housing pool entirely.
Right.
The free market forces that would normally fix a housing shortage are broken by the realities of a resort economy.
Which brings us to the human cost of that broken market. The current shortage they mentioned isn't about people wanting an extra guest room.
No.
We're talking about 686 overcrowded units. We're talking about 195 households living completely precarious setups. People couch surfing or sleeping in RVs and vans.
Which is an incredibly dangerous way to live given the extreme winter weather and the severe fire risks we discussed earlier. Imagine living in a van during a red flag warning.
Terrifying. And the report explicitly states they need over 1,100 units just to replace what they call extreme commuting, plus nearly 600 units for jobs that are just sitting unfilled because nobody can live there to do them.
Yeah.
But the stat that I opened the show with is the one that really anchors this crisis.
The 7.5 incomes.
Yes. We just talked about a brutal 1,600-foot bike climb, but requiring the combined income of 7.5 median wage workers just to buy a house in Edwards, that's not a steep hill. That's a completely unscalable vertical cliff for the average person.
It really is. And we need to clarify what a median wage looks like in this context.
Good point.
The report talks a lot about area median income, or AMI. In a resort county, 100% of the AMI might look like a very solid middle-class salary on paper, say $70,000 or $80,000 a year.
Right, which sounds great in most places.
Exactly. But when real estate values are set by global wealth and out-of-state investors, that local salary suddenly buys you absolutely nothing.
It's an unscalable cliff. If you need 7.5 average incomes to buy one house, homeownership isn't just difficult, it is structurally impossible for the working class.
Which perfectly explains why 75 to 80% of the projected housing need is for rental housing, not ownership.
Wow. 80%.
And that demand is heavily concentrated in Vail, Avon, and unincorporated Eagle County. It's concentrated exactly where the jobs are.
Think about what this means for the Valley as a functioning society.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the shoes of someone making 50 to 100% of that area median income.
Yeah.
Maybe you just worked a grueling 12-hour shift as a wildland firefighter, or you spent the day operating heavy machinery on Vail Pass.
You are exhausted.
Right. But you can't go home because your home is an hour and a half down the interstate in a completely different county because that's the only place you can afford rent.
It creates a terrifying fragility. A community cannot survive if the essential workforce required to maintain its infrastructure and manage its extreme environmental risks cannot sleep within its
I
borders.
really can't.
What happens to the emergency services, the hospital shifts, or the snowplow routes when a winter storm forces CDOT to close the highway, and all the essential workers are stuck on the other side of the pass?
The town just freezes.
It does. The highest housing demand in the assessment isn't for missing luxury condos. This is a crisis of the foundational workforce.
You look at a problem like the wildlife underpass. It's highly complex, but ultimately they can engineer a solution, right?
Right.
They can engineer a world-class mountain bike. But engineering a functional housing market in a geographically constrained, highly desirable mountain valley is a problem they have not solved.
Not even close.
The sources mentioned a community sentiment survey going out in Edwards, and you have to imagine the feedback from locals is going to be incredibly intense.
It is the single most critical vulnerability for the entire region. The environment demands highly skilled, dedicated people to manage its extremes, but the economy makes it structurally impossible for those same people to put down roots.
Let's zoom out and look at the journey we've taken you on today.
Okay.
We started on a razor's edge with a severe red flag warning, 7% humidity, and crews battling the steep terrain on I-70 to keep the highway from failing,
Which is just a normal Tuesday for them.
basically. Then we pivoted to marvel at elite athletes like Deanna Males and Eric Brunner, who actively seek out and dominate that exact same rugged environment.
Showing the incredible resilience and capability of the human body and mind.
But finally, we unpacked the massive structural 5,038-unit housing deficit that threatens the very foundation of the community, making all of that possible.
Right.
A deficit that forces 7.5 median wage earners to pool their money just to afford a standard roof over their heads.
It is the ultimate tension between the extreme environment, the recreation, and the unforgiving reality of the local economy.
Which brings us back to that snow globe we talked about at the beginning. From the outside, the postcard of the Vail Valley looks perfect. A quiet, pristine mountain retreat.
But on the inside,
On the inside, it is a complex, high-stakes battle to keep the whole thing from shattering. And that leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder long after you finish listening today. Given this massive compounding squeeze caught between nature's extreme elements, an elite recreation-based economy, and a crippling lack of workforce housing.
that's a lot to weigh.
It is. Our world-renowned mountain valleys, destined to become gated playgrounds, where the essential workers must be imported daily from hours away just to keep the lights on. Something to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep.